So, you've probably been hearing the term AI thrown around a lot lately. It feels like every app, every phone, and every tech company is suddenly all about artificial intelligence. And look, it's not just hype. Something fundamental has shifted in the last couple of years, and it's changing how we interact with technology in a big way. The conversations we're having with our devices are becoming less like commands and more like, well, actual conversations. This isn't the clunky voice assistant from a few years ago that could only set a timer or tell you the weather. This is something new, something more powerful, and it's all powered by a specific kind of AI that you've almost certainly used, even if you don't know its name. This new wave is driven by what the industry calls large language models, or LLMs for short. Alright, so let's get right into it. What is a large language model? At its core, an LLM is a type of AI that has been trained to understand and generate human language. The large part of the name is key here. We're talking about models trained on vast, almost incomprehensibly large amounts of text data. Imagine an AI that has read more books, articles, and websites than any human could in 1,000 lifetimes. By processing all of this data, it learns the patterns, grammar, context, and subtleties of how we write and speak. It's not just memorizing sentences, it's learning the statistical relationships between words. Think of it like a super-powered autocomplete. The magic behind this is a deep learning architecture called a transformer, which was a major breakthrough in AI. The transformer architecture allows the model to weigh the importance of different words in the input text, no matter where they are. Okay, so this technology is impressive, but what does it actually mean for you? Why should you care about large language models? The simplest answer is that they are becoming a new kind of tool, one that can significantly change how you work, learn, and create. Think about how the internet and search engines changed how we access information. LLMs are poised to create a similar shift in how we interact with and use that information. For starters, LLMs are incredible productivity boosters. Imagine you have to write a formal email to a client, but you're struggling with the right tone. Beyond work and productivity, LLMs are also powerful learning tools. If you're trying to understand a complex scientific concept or a difficult historical event, you can ask an LLM to explain it to you in simple terms as if you were a 5-year-old. So, we've established that LLMs are trained on a massive amount of text. But what does that training process actually look like? The first step is curation. Engineers carefully select a huge dataset, which is basically a giant collection of text and code. Once the dataset is ready, the training begins. This is where the deep learning part comes in. The LLM, which is a type of neural network, starts processing this text. As the model goes through billions of sentences, it adjusts the connections between these neurons. It's looking for patterns. The scale of this training is what gives the large language model its meaning. Early models might have had millions of parameters, but modern LLMs like the ones we use today have hundreds of billions or even trillions. Alright, so the model has been trained on this giant library of text. How does it actually use that knowledge to generate a response when you give it a prompt? The core mechanism is surprisingly simple. It's all about prediction. At its heart, an LLM is a prediction engine. When you type in a prompt like, "The best thing about living in New York City is," the model doesn't think about its own experiences. Instead, it processes your words and then calculates the probability of every word in its vocabulary that could come next. Once it has chosen the next word, let's say it adds that word to the sequence. Now, the prompt for the model is effectively, "The best thing about living in New York City is the." It then repeats the entire process. It analyzes this new, slightly longer sequence and predicts the next word. So, what's the secret sauce that makes this prediction so good? The answer lies in a groundbreaking neural network architecture I mentioned earlier, the transformer. Introduced in a 2017 paper titled "Attention is All You Need," the transformer model revolutionized how AI handles sequential data like language. Before this, models struggled with long-term dependencies. They had a short memory and would often lose track of the context in a long sentence or paragraph. The attention mechanism allows the model to weigh the importance of all the words in the input text when it's generating the next word. Alright, now that we have a solid idea of how these models work under the hood, let's meet the stars of the show. The LLM space has exploded, but a few key players have risen to the top, each with its own strengths and personality. You've definitely heard their names. ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude are the big three that most people interact with through web interfaces. The competition among these tech giants, OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, and Meta, is fierce. And that's actually great news for us as users. Let's start with the one that really kicked off the public frenzy, ChatGPT by OpenAI. When ChatGPT launched in late 2022, it felt like a lightning strike. It was the first time a truly powerful language model was made available to the general public through a simple, easy-to-use chat interface. The strength of ChatGPT, especially the models that power it like GPT 3.5 and the more advanced GPT-4, has always been its versatility and creativity. OpenAI has built an entire ecosystem around its models. Beyond the free web interface, there's ChatGPT Plus, a subscription that gives you access to the latest, most powerful models like GPT-4. Of course, OpenAI isn't the only player in this game. Google, a longtime leader in AI research, responded with its own powerful model, Gemini. Google's big advantage is its direct pipeline to its own massive index of the internet. Gemini was also designed from the ground up to be multimodal. Then there's Claude from the AI safety and research company Anthropic. Anthropic was founded by former OpenAI researchers, and their primary focus is on building AI that is helpful, harmless, and honest. However, its standout feature is its massive context window. Claude can handle hundreds of thousands of words, meaning you can upload entire books or lengthy research papers and ask detailed questions about them. So, we've talked about what LLMs are, how they work, and who the big players are. Now, for the most important part, how do you actually start using one? But here's the best part. For most people, getting started with a top-tier LLM is as simple as opening a new tab in your web browser. You don't need to install anything. The major AI companies like OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic have made their flagship models incredibly accessible. They've built user-friendly websites that work just like any other site you use every day. The reason this is possible is that all the heavy lifting, the actual thinking and processing, is done on the company's powerful servers, not on your device. Alright, let's walk through the actual steps. It's super straightforward. First, you need to pick which large language model you want to try. Once you're logged in, you'll be taken to the main chat screen. It's intentionally minimalist. You'll see a large, empty space for the conversation to appear, and most importantly, a text box at the bottom of the screen. Now it's time to have your first conversation. Don't overthink it. Start with something simple. You could ask a question like, "What are 3 fun facts about the Roman Empire?" You'll see the AI start to type its response back to you, often word by word. It feels like you're chatting with a person in real time. Okay, so you're logged in and ready to go. While you can ask it anything, there are a few tips that can help you get much better and more useful responses from the get-go. My first and biggest tip is to be specific. Another powerful technique is to give the large language model a role to play. Don't be afraid to iterate and refine your request. Your first prompt doesn't have to be perfect. If the AI's initial response isn't quite what you wanted, you can simply tell it how to fix it. Finally, remember to experiment. The possibilities are nearly endless. The more you play with it and test its limits, the better you'll get at crafting effective prompts. Alright, so using large language models in a web browser is incredibly easy and powerful for everyday tasks. But what if you want to go deeper? This is where application programming interfaces, or APIs, come into play. Think about some of the apps you use that have recently gained AI features. Getting started with an API is a bit more technical than just logging into a website, but it's still surprisingly straightforward for anyone with some basic coding knowledge. The API gives you the raw power of the large language model, and you can decide exactly how to use it. It's the ultimate building block for the next generation of software. Using an API is great, but it means you're still relying on someone else's servers and an internet connection. For those who want ultimate control, privacy, or the ability to work completely offline, there's another, even more advanced option: running an LLM locally on your own computer. Now, this isn't something you can do on just any laptop. The open source community has created incredible tools, like Ollama and LM Studio, that make the setup process much easier than it used to be. Running an LLM locally is the final frontier of personal AI control. While it requires a hardware investment and a bit of a learning curve, it gives you a level of freedom and ownership over the technology that you simply can't get any other way. Once you start running models locally or using APIs, you might find yourself wanting an AI that's specialized for a very specific task. Fine-tuning is the process of taking a pre-trained model and training it a little bit more on your own specific data set. This customizes the model, making it an expert in a particular domain. This is another area where the open source community shines. The availability of powerful open source models like Llama and Mistral means you don't need to be a massive corporation to create a custom AI. Ultimately, these advanced options, APIs, local hosting, and fine-tuning, represent the shift from simply using AI to actively shaping it. So we've covered the technical side, but let's get to the real question. What can this technology actually do for you right now in your everyday life? Let's start with productivity. Think about all the time you spend on repetitive communication tasks at work or school. This is where an LLM can act as a genuine superpower. For example, instead of staring at a blank page trying to compose the perfect email to a client, you can give an LLM a few bullet points of what you need to say and let it generate a polished, professional draft in seconds. Imagine you're handed a dense 20-page legal contract or a complex business report that you need to understand quickly. With an LLM, you can simply upload the document or paste the text and ask for a summary of the key points. Beyond the world of work, one of the most exciting applications of large language models is in education and personal development. Think about it for a second. These models have been trained on a massive portion of human knowledge. This makes them, honestly, an incredible resource for learning virtually any subject you can imagine. This interactive learning process is what makes it so powerful. Unlike a textbook or a pre-recorded lecture, a conversation with an LLM is dynamic. This also opens up new possibilities for skill acquisition. Want to learn a new language? An LLM can be your practice partner, helping you with grammar, vocabulary, and even role-playing conversations to build your confidence. Sometimes the hardest part of any creative or strategic project is just getting started. That initial moment of staring at a blank canvas, a blank document, or a blank whiteboard can be incredibly daunting. This is where an LLM can really shine as the ultimate brainstorming partner, one that never gets tired, never judges a bad idea, and has a nearly infinite pool of concepts to draw from. The process is conversational and collaborative. You can start with a simple seed of an idea and ask the AI to expand on it. For example, you could say, I want to start a podcast about sustainable living. Give me 10 potential episode ideas. In essence, LLMs can serve as an extension of your own mind, a tool to augment your creativity and strategic thinking. So, after diving deep into what LLMs are, how they work, and what they can do, it's clear that this isn't just another fleeting tech trend. We are genuinely at the beginning of a major technological shift, one that's on par with the invention of the personal computer or the internet. The accessibility of this technology is what makes this revolution different. Powerful AI is no longer locked away in research labs. It's available to anyone with a web browser. This democratization means that innovation can come from anywhere. A small business owner can use an LLM to craft a marketing plan that rivals a large corporation's. As we look to the future, it's exciting to imagine where this technology is headed. The lines between different modes of interaction, text, voice, and vision, are rapidly blurring. The next generation of AI assistants will likely be truly multimodal, able to seamlessly switch between a spoken conversation, analyzing an image you show it, and helping you write a document. Of course, with this great power comes great responsibility. As these models become more integrated into our society, we'll need to navigate important questions about ethics, bias, privacy, and the impact on the job market. Companies, developers, and users all have a role to play in steering this technology in a positive direction, demanding accountability and building systems that are helpful, harmless, and honest. So, my final thought is this: get curious. Start playing with these tools. Understand their strengths and their limitations. The future isn't just something that happens to us, it's something we build together. And with large language models, we all have a new, incredibly powerful building block in our hands. The conversation is just getting started.